Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I still have a broken mic boom arm thing
Looks
for
cool.
my desk. Yeah, like I actually don't mind holding it, but they're sending me a new one. Anyway, today we are here for a very special reason. Haven't done one of these in a while. Today I'm interviewing Brian Michael Raetz, who's an all-star in our community, and he's booking up a storm in a really unique way. So before we jump into all that and what you've been doing, which I think you guys stick around, you're going to want to hear this. Tell us a bit about yourself, Brian. Like, how did you get started in voiceover? Like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah, definitely. And first of all, thank you, Jesse, for not just interviewing me, but also for like showing the way in the community. It's been awesome. So appreciate it.
No
Also,
problem.
you're kind of like Freddie Mercury with the mic like off the stand. So I dig it. So yeah, my background, I'm like a longtime improviser and film actor. So I've been doing improv for the last 12 years. Started at Kalamazoo College in an improv group called Monkapult, which is the same group that, you know, Stephen Yoon was in, Jordan Klepper. So these are some people who've gone on to have pretty big careers. But I've trained and worked at the IO Theater in Chicago, also out in Los Angeles at the IO LA location out there. And then I've done film acting for the last 10 years as well. And it was literally, you know, because I decided to move back to my hometown. So I've been trying to figure out like, how can I do film acting from Northern Michigan? And I've been really, you know, trying to like make that happen for like 7 years, you know, like going as far as making my own films and getting involved in the filmmaking community. About a year ago, someone just like popped into my workout class and she's like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know, I'm an actor." And she goes, "Oh, my daughter is a voice actor. Do you ever do that?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, not really. It's for me, it's more film acting." And she's like, "Well, yeah, my daughter like flies all over the world and she's like been to the Audis and like won awards and stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then like 3 nights later, I woke up and I was like, voice acting, you know? And then I've just been like going down this whole rabbit hole. And it started with, you know, auditioning for audiobooks on ACX. And like I started booking right away. And I was like, oh, okay, there's something here for me. And then I did more YouTubing. And that's where eventually I found your channel. And when I watched the your video, what I do if I had to start over from scratch, like a light clicked and I was like, holy cow, I could do this. And so the last 6 to 9 months has been that journey. I think I joined the community 6 months ago ish, maybe 4 months ago ish.
6 months already?
Maybe not. Is it 4 months ago? I guess I joined in December.
That's like 3 months ago, bro.
Time is a warp. It's crazy. Only 3 months. Okay, dang. Yeah, I guess just 3 months ago.
It feels like you've been there longer.
Yeah, it feels like it. I know that was just me talking for a long time, but that's my background and that's how I got here. And it's been working. That's the crazy thing. I've never experienced the volume of auditions is like the key to it too. You know, in film acting, you get pumped if you get one audition like a day or even a week. So yeah, the audition volume was what made me think there could be something here.
So like with film and TV, when you do an audition, you usually spend, I don't know, like if it's due in 3 days, you'll take all 3 days to get ready to do that audition and put it on tape. How did you find the transition from spending 5 days on an audition to 5 minutes?
I actually loved it because for me, I just got to jump in, jump out, and my method is very improvisational, you know? So I like to just jump in, embody the characters, let it rip, and then jump out. And so it's actually nice to not have 3 whole days to overthink that, you know? So I've liked it a lot. And voicing like animation especially I've found has been scratching the same itch that I was having with like the film acting, you know, like whether it's drama or comedy.
You got the bug now. Okay, so like you started booking like pretty quickly. Do you remember like had you booked any commercial work before joining the community or anything?
No, none whatsoever. It was only audiobooks through ACX. And then I joined the community in December, and that was when I think 2 weeks in, I booked my first job on voices.com, and that was after 400 auditions on voices.com. I was hustling, you know, and like what you were saying, you just have to go for it. And I found the doing of the auditions made me better. But what really like took it off was when we did the school in your community. You have these live directed session coachings, and when we did that, and I realized everything I was doing was announcery, and you were like coaching me how to just do it, so it's like just talk like a normal person. It was after that I actually started booking. That's like a thing where if I hadn't been in the community, I think I would I'd probably still be in announcer land thinking that I was killing it.
Maybe. You know what the funny thing is? Especially like everybody that gets into this, they always think that they've got to like put on a show when they're doing voiceover. They don't really realize that the voice that they use every day, the one you're using right now, they use to communicate with people, that's what casting directors, that's what clients, that's what marketing agencies, that they all want that. It's a leap to think like your voice is enough the way it is. We always want to put extra on it, but you don't have to do that. Now, that's like level one. And then you can start throwing like your personality into it. And the thing that I think you guys are going to get a kick out of is what have you been doing to take it to the next level? So you're always working from yourself, but then you're putting an extra layer on top of it.
Yes, that's right. So I should mention right away when I learned the conversational read, I tried to just do everything conversational and ended up sounding flat, and it sounded like I had no emotion at all. I remember you and I did a coaching and you're like, it sounds like you're talking about a ham sandwich, just like you don't care,
Yeah, conversational doesn't mean flat. Like when you're talking, like right now, you're being anything but flat. But when you first learn that conversational read, everyone's so careful to like not do too much and not be an announcer and all that. It's really just, if you're working from a place of authenticity, you can kind of go as big as you want within reason.
So what I did is I took my improvisation background and I decided to kind of marry that with the conversational technique. And I started, like I shared with you, I've started improvising my way into every read. At the beginning of every audition I do, there's always a bit of improv. And it always lasts, it could be anything from like 5 seconds to 15 seconds. Though it's kind of a no-no when I go to the 15-second land, because then they're just like listening to me. But that's been working, and it's allowed me a few things. One, in order to do it correctly, I need to actually understand what the copy's about, which is a lot of what Dave talks about, right?
Yeah, Dave Beeson, for those of you who don't know, he's also a teacher in the community. He has a book called Authentic Commercial Voiceover. I highly recommend getting it.
Yeah, I would agree. That book, I listened to an audiobook and I was like, oh yeah, this is what I needed. So what he talks about is you need to understand like the key word or the whole reason that the commercial exists. So what I'll do is I'll read the copy, I'll figure out what is the key reason the commercial exists, and then I'll improvise my way in using that. So if it's like a gas station that wants to sell more gas and that's like the main like purpose of the commercial. If the copy is like, come on down now and use our community pump, to give points back to the community on every dollar spent or whatever, I'll try to do something like, geesh, long day, huh? Well, you'd kind of like to give back to the community, wouldn't you? Well, come on down now to our, and yada, yada. So like, yeah. The key is I have to understand like what's the reason for the commercial and then improvise my way into it. That does a couple of things. One, it shows them right off the bat that this dude gets it, and then two, it also shocks Boca, like Jim, is it Jim Rupert?
Rubart. So one of our members in our community is Jim Rubart, who's an author, but he also gives talks. He travels across the U.S. giving talks on branding for businesses. And he did one inside the community, and he talks about shocking Broca, which is an area in your brain that tries to guess what's going to happen next. So when you do something unexpected, instantly your brain perks up and you're like, oh, whoa, what's this about? So that's what Brian's talking about, is shocking Broca. Yeah.
Yeah. So the poor casting directors, and I've been a casting director before because I worked in film production during those 7 years I mentioned earlier. It's so hard to know who's any good because it's just the same thing over and over again. So poor casting directors listening to a bunch of really good takes from different people. They're all good and over again. And they like don't know I'm just guessing, don't know, okay, which one of these is better than the next. And all of a sudden someone's like, hey, a long day at work. And they're like, whoa, what's happening?
100%. Now, here's the thing. If it's not clear yet, the one thing I wanted to bring up is that, like, most pro voice actors know about lead-ins and doing a little improv before. But Brian's not talking about just doing an improv before and cutting it out. You leave that shit in there for them to hear. You leave the improv. You take liberties with the script, make up your own little improv, and you leave it in and send it in.
Yes, that's exactly what I do. And it books. It's been booking me work. And I've had people reach me and be like, hey, I really liked that intro, or like I did one for that. I didn't book this one, but I did get a good response on it for this one Taco Bell spot. I literally started it with like a scene. Like it was supposed to be just internal HR copy. And I started with like, yo, dude, what if like the Crunchwrap Supreme like wasn't even existing? No, dude, that'd be insane. And then I kind of let it fade out. And then I started like, the year was 1986 when yada, yada, yada.
This is so good. So, okay, when you do that and you book a job, do they tell you, hey, leave that out, just stick to the script, loved what you did, but leave it out? Or is there a circumstance where they leave it in?
Actually, I've had clients tell me, we liked this bit, we didn't like this bit. So there's this one client who said, like, we didn't like how much time you were taking at the beginning. We want you to cut that out. But we really liked how you added, I think, what did I add? Like, oh yeah, it was for a phone messaging, like, hey, you've reached so and so, please leave a message or whatever. I think I improved like, yeah, so go ahead and leave a message and we'll totally get back to you. And they're like, oh, totally. We loved the totally, and it's like, oh, they love the totally. But I think really what they're getting at is they just want it to sound like someone who really believes what they're saying. And when I do my improv, for me, I don't know if it's that way for everyone, I believe what I'm saying. And that's the key.
Yeah, 100%. That's how you get to that real, authentic part of yourself. But also it shows them your personality. Personality, I think, is so huge in voiceover because it's what sets you apart. Once you get to the top tiers, the upper echelons, everybody's good. It's like you were saying earlier. How do you pick? How do you pick between these people? Well, when somebody shows you their full personality unapologetically and is not afraid to be themselves and even takes liberties with the script the way you do, that's how you get noticed. That's how you get noticed right there. And they know it's just the audition. It's not the final project. So they can be like, hey, listen, we love what you're doing, but cut that shit out.
Yeah.
And just stick to the script, but keep that energy. We loved what you were doing with that. Or maybe they even use the line, like you said. So I think it's really brave and I think it's really cool to do. And I want you to know I've been ripping that off.
Heck yeah. Has it been working for you?
Not yet, but I'm not a professional improviser.
Yeah. I've been doing it for like 10 years. So it just rolls off the tongue and it's like my comfort zone.
Well, here's what I do, right? So like sometimes I'll do like a lead in. I've been starting to leave it in and see if I can get some results the way you've been getting to see if that gets me a little bit more noticed. But when I attack a script, I make it 100% my own. So if the first line is something like, come on down to the car wash, I'm not going to say, come on down to the car wash. I'm going to say, I might even just break it up and be like, come on down to the car wash. Like, you know what I mean? Just break the sentence up or, add my own personality into it. Even if it's something like, I do a lot of corporates. A lot of people, when they look at a corporate read, they'll think, oh, I've got to be all buttoned up and corporate-y and professional. I don't. I talk exactly how I'm talking right now. And I've worked for all of the biggest, like most professional brands like Google, Microsoft. I've done stuff for Raytheon, Halliburton, 2 companies that arguably have no sense of humor. And all I do is throw humor into it. That's what gets you noticed. So, the improv is great. It's working for you, but you also want to make sure that the rest of the read, you're infusing that same kind of energy and personality into it, because that's really what sets you apart. And it's going to force a decision too. So I'm sure that when I do the reads that I do, some casting directors are like, whoa, we do not like what he's doing, but they got an opinion on it. Yeah. And other ones are like, we love it. You know what I mean?
Like Jim says, like, let them love them or hate you. Just don't let them ignore you, kind of thing.
100%. The last thing you want is for them to think, oh, okay, well, that was an audition. I was like, he read the script.
And the thing I've been trying to do is with my improv, I've been trying to like make the script, make the copy they wrote even better. Not that I think I'm better than their writers or something, but like, what can I do that would bring to it? So I've started also adding improv at the end, like an ending tagline, so if in their copy, they didn't give me a tagline, I give them one, I like, so I did it. I can't remember what it was today, but if it's like some sprinkler company, like say it's called like Watergrass, I'll be like at the end, I'll be like, Watergrass, your local sprinkling company, even if it's not, just to like show them I can do that.
They really appreciate the more you get into live directed sessions, you'll realize a lot of the time they're looking for you to add something to it. Even this morning, I did a live directed session with some great folks over in Germany. And they kept asking me like, listen, we just want this to be cool. So don't worry about the script, like follow it for the first pass and then just see what happens. Like bring something to it, just improv a little throughout it and just add whatever you want. That happens all the time. So if you do that in the audition, you're communicating to them. 1, you're not desperate, clearly. 2, you know what you're doing. And when they hire you, they're not just going to get somebody that they can just direct. They're going to get someone that comes with ideas. That improv that you add, that's brilliant. It makes them know that they're going to get taken care of. There's no way they're going to get into a live directed session with you and be like, oh crap, what do we do? Because you're going to come with ideas.
Yes, 100%. And that reminds me of this audition book I remember reading back when I was, dabbling with like theater auditions, because at one point along my path, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just do like local regional theater, like in Chicago, like Steppenwolf, stuff like that, you know? And this audition book was saying, when you do an audition, it's not to show them you're good at that character you're auditioning for. Your audition should only serve to show them everything you can do. So try to like pack as much range and capability into your audition, because it's not about the character you're auditioning for. It's about showing them that like, this is who I am as an artist or as a creative, you know, without totally leaving the realm of what their copy is trying to get at. It seems to be if you can show them like what you're saying, like, look, I can bring this value, then they realize, okay, we won't ever have a dull moment in working with this guy, basically.
100%. Is the book that you're talking about, is it Audition Psychology 101 by Michael Kostroff by any chance?
Maybe. I can't remember the exact name of it.
He
it was
says something similar
to.
in that book. He talks about how you're a carpet salesman when you go to an audition. Think about this. First of all, it's a chance to act on a Wednesday. Just like when you're going to do an audition for VoiceOver, you'll do way more, but it's a chance to act. It's a chance to get in front of the microphone. But think of it as you're a carpet salesman, that he says. And I thought this was great for acting. Really changed the way I approach things, even for VoiceOver, because you're going and you're like, well, I have all these carpets to sell. Are you buying them? No. Okay, cool. Well, you'll buy from somebody else then, but don't try to give them what they want. Show them what you do with what the script is, what the material is. Show them what you do and let them decide. But if you come in with your hat in hand and be like, please hire me, you're never going to get the job that way.
Actually, that's what happened with the Taco Bell thing. I had a callback and they sent me a video and they said, can you do it in this style? And you remember, I think I messaged you because I was like, dude, I've been at this for 2 hours. As soon as I tried to do it in the style they had sent, I couldn't do it anymore. It sounded wrong. It didn't have life in it. And Jesse, I went back and I listened to what I sent them and I am embarrassed by it. You know what I mean? My callback tape, it's almost embarrassing because it's like, oh, this had neither any of me in it, which from the original audition, and it had none of the reference video in it either, because it was me trying to be not myself.
You know, those situations are tough too when they give you a reference file. If it's clear that they want a certain style in there, give them that style, but give a second take and give them you, even if it's completely off the wall. You want to try in a callback, you got to kind of play ball a little bit to show that you can take direction, because that might also be just what they're checking. Can he do what we're going to ask him to do? But I would give the second take where you just throw that stuff out the window and show them what you actually do. Like when I did Backroad Truckers, I beat out like something like 10,000 other actors for that. When the original direction for it went out, they're like, we're not entirely sure what we want. Here's the video. Give us something that's like rock and roll. And I was like, okay. And I just went for it. I just pretend like I was a rock and roll lead singer. And they're like, holy crap. And I got a call back to do it in studio. Then they just started throwing everything at me to see if I could do the thing. But I always did it from what I thought was the best thing to do. And luckily, I'd never done on-screen narration before. So I had no idea what to do. I broke all the rules.
You had none of the traps and it was all new and fresh. I love that.
Exactly. And that's what gets you noticed. So what's next, man? So you're conquering P2P. You got a shiny new fresh demo just done by JMC.
Yes. Yeah. Yesterday was the session recording, and I was spent by the end of it. Cause like I knew I wanted to leave it all on the court. You know, like I wanted to feel like a rag that had been wrung out by the end of it. You know, I didn't want to leave going, oh, I wish I would have tried this, that, or the other thing. And like, you know, we had like a Nike spot and I was doing push-ups like to exhaustion. You know what I mean? And then getting up and just jumping up and down and going for it. And at one point, like I let it rip so intensely that he was like, oh, I think you just made me wet my pants there. Maybe tone it down a little bit, you know, but not that I don't mean like, oh, I scared J. Michael. What I mean is I was bringing it, you know, and I was playing and I was letting it rip. And by the end I was exhausted, but we got all this variety, all the things I was looking for. And I'm still like getting my energy back from it. I didn't expect it to be so draining, but rewarding too. So
is it all you? Like did they capture you? Meaning that what you do in auditions, is it going to be reflected in your demo? That it's, you know, maybe you throw a little improv.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And you know, like the pre-life at the beginning is always there, you know, and bringing that in with ad libs or like making the scripts, making little changes to the script as I was going to make it more authentic, you know. But what was nice too is with JMC, he has you send in like what kind of companies you'd want to have your spots done, you know, what kind of spots you'd want. And for me, I created a vision board for each of the companies I wanted, including, and then I also like envisioned what the spot could be, like what the tagline could be for each company. And I put it all in a vision board for each one of them, like digitally, so it looked nice. And I sent them to him rather than a list of like companies I wanted. I sent him that, and then he, inspired by those, and I said take it or leave it. These are just ideas. But he riffed off of those and made custom spots to each vision board, and the audio that he chose for each one, like I never could have chosen, and each was like right and blew my mind. And then what was cool too is he wanted me to send in like a sample of my studio setup. And so for the sample, I decided to just ad lib one of the spots, and in the end that was the copy he tweaked for the final spot for that one. So for NASA, it was written by me basically, or me and him, but so he was so collaborative, and he really also is so straightforward. At one point, because during our session, Jen, another fantastic voiceover artist and director, was like a part of the session with us. And at one point she was like, "Ooh, for this Gucci spot, what if you do it in like a British accent?" And so I was going for the British accent, going for it. And then with J. Michael, I was like, if we choose the British accent one, we should like share it with a dialect coach, because I'm not sure about it. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not quite sure it's there either." And I'm like, "Okay, good. Like that's what I really appreciated. It was honestly, Jesse, it was so cool. And that's another thing. I never would have even known to have worked with JMC. Like I asked you, you and I did a live directed session one night, and I chose a Nike script just because I was like, what if I just try something really hard? And you were throwing all this direction at me, and all of a sudden we came up with something like really special and really cool. And you were like, "Dude, you need to go get your professional demo done." And I'm like, "Who should I go to?" And you're like, "Either Mark Grau or JMC." And Mark Grau, shout out Mark Grau, he seems like awesome for animation stuff. And then for JMC, I looked into him and I was like, "Dude, for commercial, this seems like my guy."
He's got a lot of awards for demos for sure. And I'll tell you this, like, I don't know JMC personally. He seems like a great guy, but the one thing that caught my eye about him was that every demo that I heard on his website is just kick ass. Everything he was putting out was it was an ear catcher. I was just, wow. So, it's great to hear that he's really collaborative. I think when you go to some of the big dogs for demos, if you don't have an idea of what you want, I think you did the right thing with the vision boards. I think you can kind of get told what to put on your demo. And I think you really need to have an idea of what you want too, because that's going to make them better at putting it together. Because whoever's making the demo, whether it's JMC or anybody else, they don't want to like sit there and go, "Well, I don't really know Brian. I don't like, what does his voice sound like? And then you kind of get something half baked. But when you take the time, when you're ready and you're ready to go get a demo done, take your time and think about what spots you want to do, like who you want to work for. Check out a lot of stuff on the internet. Go to iSpot TV, see what else out there is in vogue right now, and then put your personal stamp on it.
Yeah, I basically saw it as like, this is your wish list to the industry. You're saying, "Dear industry, This is what I would like to do. Can I?"
Man, that's
like,
so good.
That's literally what a demo is. So for me, I thought, who would I love to work with? And what's interesting is I don't drink Coca-Cola. I don't wear Gucci. But these were some of the brands I chose because I do identify with their brand messaging, with their spirit of authenticity and celebration of life. And for me, that's what I felt was authentic to me. So I drink Spindrift, but like I'm not trying to sell to Spindrift because they would probably also wouldn't pay as much as Coca-Cola would.
Well, you'd be surprised. I've worked for Coke before, and sometimes they don't pay shit.
Well. Yeah. Remember, Jesse, I'm still only 1 year or three months in, depending on how we count the clock.
For sure. But, listen, like the brands you chose are fantastic and all that. The one thing I always like to tell everybody is don't get starry eyes over a brand. You're going to work with these people at some point. You know what I mean? The first time you work for Amazon or Coca-Cola, or let's say you do work with Gucci at one point, your brand is just as good as theirs. Remember that. And don't think that they're these multi-billion-dollar brands, that they're these big Goliaths and you're lucky to work for them. They're also lucky to have you. And keep that in mind, not from an arrogant point of view, but from you have something special to share.
Thanks for saying that. I love that. Because that's what happened with the Taco Bell spot, dude. It shut me down. I was like, Taco Bell? What? Like, again, I don't eat Taco Bell, but like the style and the vibe of them, it would be so cool, and then it just shut me down. You got to keep being you. don't get so freaked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can tell you right now, like the bigger brands, they're some of the most collaborative. Like if you work with Coca-Cola, they're going to be super cool to work with. You know, they hire people that are authentic, that are on brand, you know, that are good for their corporate culture. I was just working with Reese's, the Hershey company.
Oh, that
And
was one of my spots. Was one of my demo spots. I don't know if it'll make the
nice.
cut because I wrote it and I'm not sure if it's very funny, but it was one of them. I
Sweet.
thought it was Reese's, but go ahead, Reese's. That's crazy.
Yeah, I got a March Madness spot coming out. Is gonna be playing all March Madness. So they were super fun, just like you think they would be. And they were at that high level. The director was good. And they weren't just like, hey, do it this way, do it faster, do it more energetic. They were saying things like, okay, the big game just ended and you're kind of spent, but you're pretty stoked. And like, still say the line that way. That they were giving me scenarios that you could get behind as an actor. And it was so much fun. And it was 4 lines, and we spent an hour on those 4 lines.
But you probably loved every minute. It was right. You weren't thinking probably for a moment, oh, this is going long, right? Because
No.
a director like that's an artist, just like you are.
Exactly. They mostly are. Every now and then you'll get someone that's all business, but most of the time you're dealing with artists. I think it's also because when you come in with an idea and you are clearly an artist to them, then they're free to play. Because if you're coming in and maybe you're a little bit nervous, which is fine, but you're showing it and you're afraid to be yourself and you're afraid to take chances, then they got to hold your hand a little bit. You know what I mean? If you signal right away, like you're ready to play around, ready to go, you're coming in with an ideas, then they can crack their knuckles and be like, okay,
here we go.
Let's do this.
I've fallen into that trap a few times where I booked the audition because I just let it rip. And then we got into the live directed session and I was nervous. And then I was like, oh man, am I giving them the magic that they wanted? You know, I'm imagining a March Madness spot for Reese's. Yeah. Like that's a lot of, it's a big responsibility. So how do you keep your cool in that situation?
Well, I like to crack jokes. So I've got 10 years experience as a stand-up comedian, but you don't need 10 years experience as a stand-up comedian to do this.
Right.
It really just comes down to people skills. When you jump on the call, ask the person who, they're probably going to introduce themselves, but make sure you get their name. Talk to everybody on the call. With Reese's, there was a bunch of people. So, you could even start by cracking a joke. There's only 7 people on the call. Is anybody's mom going to join us too?
Nice.
Then they'll laugh. And if they don't laugh, whatever.
Puts the tension at ease.
Exactly. Or if you do your first take and you're feeling a little bit stiff, at the end of that first take, you can say, whew, glad we got that one out of the way. And that puts them at ease too, when you're able to be a little self-deprecating. But don't worry about, everybody is nervous at some point. At some point, it'll start going away. They always have a little bit of that there because it's something that's unknown, especially if it's somebody you haven't worked with before. I think a lot of that fear comes from thinking that you're going to suck, or what if I make a mistake? I make mistakes every single live directed session. Like, I flub over all my words. I get them jammed up. It doesn't matter. You just stop, go back to the beginning of the sentence, say it again. If you do that, then because they know they can cut it out. But if you start getting nervous and reacting and apologizing and all that, that's when everyone goes, oh no. So it's just okay to make mistakes. It's okay to show your personality. In fact, it's required. Show your personality right off the bat. But if they're all business, they want to jump into it, just jump into it and go. Once you get your demo, I guess it's agent time then, right?
Yeah, it's agent time. And what's really cool is, so my girlfriend is a high school teacher and spring break is coming up. So we have a trip planned where we're driving down to Florida to visit her mom and stepdad. And along the way, we passed right through Atlanta during VO Atlanta.
Are you going to go?
I'm going to go. I've got a room booked at the Hilton, which is where it's taking place. I'm only going to be able to make it for 24 hours because we have a wedding just before that we're going to. And so I just chatted with JMC and was like, hey, could I
pass?
Basically, and he was kind enough to, make an exception because they don't usually do day passes, but just because, he understood like, if you're not going to be there for the whole time, that would be tough to have to pay the full rate for it. So that was really sweet. But the main point is like, I'm so stoked and I have like the full list of people who I want to like meet and go do X sessions with and whatnot. So for me, my next step is twofold. One, workshops. So the VO Atlanta, that's one place for me to do workshops, but there's also workshops online. And these are workshops with casting directors, agents, and also voice directors, because those are the folks who are involved in casting. And for me, because of my improv background, I'm really going for animation. as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my plan. I'm going to do 2 workshops before I even get to VO Atlanta that are online workshops. And then I'll meet those people again. And then after that, I'll try to do another workshop. So my plan is to just do workshops, let it rip, have fun. And then at the same time, I'm getting my website. I'm getting ready to launch my website, because right now it's just something I put together like a few years ago for my film acting. And I'm going to go with voiceactorwebsites.com, which they're like super. They're the ones who do JMC's website, and they're super. They're only VO focused, and they do SEO out the wazoo. And so you can like pay monthly for them to do SEO where it actually works. So JMC talks about this because I've been listening to like all his podcasts, how he ranks. He gets 4 to 5 people walking through the door asking for VO a day just because he ranks in the top for his VO SEO category. So he works with voice actor websites. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. But that's who I'm going to work with, get a single page done, and then eventually, once I have the funds, I'll be like pumping out investment into SEO. So eventually I could probably own the page for maybe like Midwestern young adult voiceover artist. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe Michigander young adult voiceover artist. And that's the point, is you do all this passive SEO so that if someone is maybe like a charismatic Canadian male voiceover actor, like boom, Jesse Carroll pops up. And that's just like this other way to get more auditions, basically. So once I have the website and the demo goes on the website, then I bring the whole package to these talent agents and show them, look, I've invested thousands of dollars. I spent all my money on voiceover, I'm ready to go. So that's my plan.
Yeah, man, you definitely should. And you've been doing it right so far, and you've made a lot of ground in a short period of time. So I'm excited for what's next for you. So for all of the brand new people that are watching this, that want to get started, like what are some tips you can give them? Where should they start? How do they start?
I know this is like shameless plug, but like watch Jesse's videos. And I would say especially start with the one, I can't remember what it's called, but like what I would do if I had to start over from voiceover.
I think that's exactly what it's called. If I had to start over, this is what I would do.
Yeah, that one. I mean, in fact, if you have any way to like pin that to your channel, Jesse, like that is...
I do.
That's
hey,
like
Baruch, can you put that one on the screen and put it like right there?
Oh yeah, please do.
There?
Because that video like is the roadmap. I mean, that's like the they say like an entire forest is an acorn, well, that's the acorn, let me tell you. And then it just kind of goes out from there. So I would say watch those. I would also say, if you have the money for it, invest immediately in the best microphone. For me, it was the Sennheiser MKH416. The best audio interface for me, it was the Universal Audio Apollo Solo, and the best fully treated studio you can do. And then get a session with Jordan, the Audio Ninja. And these are all things you talk about. Yeah. But the reason I kind of think this is what you should do like first, it's because then if you're not booking, it's not because you don't sound good technically.
Yeah.
If you're not booking, it's not because you don't have the absolute best, most professional audio. I think for anyone who's like has a lot of acting experience, has already had success with pay to plays, etc., like I think do that right away. And then start climbing. Because that's kind of what I did and worked up to. If someone's like starting out like they've never done acting or they don't know, I honestly would say get a plug-in snowball mic, the cheapest one you can, and just start auditioning for everything on ACX, just the free audiobook stuff, and see how you like it. One, do you book anything? Because there are a lot of projects on ACX where it's literally just the author has made an AI book and they want someone to read it so they can get passive income, and there's not a whole lot of thought put into it. And they do it where they don't even pay you money. They just give you points, or whatever. Like you get percentage residuals. You get residuals. But for most of those books, no one will probably ever buy them. So but the point is you can compete in that market from snowball day
really?
one.
I didn't know that.
In my opinion, because some of the books are just so not good. But the point is,
you're gonna get a call from Amazon. They'd be like,
no,
reach.
No, I don't know, because this is not a comment on Amazon. It's a comment on the people who are not putting a lot of care and attention into the books they're creating, and they're just having
They're trying to make some
AI.
passive income for themselves by
Yeah.
commenting on a subject they think might be lucrative for them.
And I think any one of them would hear what I'm saying and go, yeah, it's true. But but it's okay. There is a lane for that. And some of those books might be helpful for people who want them. But
yeah.
anyway, so that's my controversial hot take is go all in and follow Jesse's plan, get the best mics, or buy a snowball mic and do the one thing Jesse says never to do: audiobooks on ACX.
Especially with the snowball. But the one thing I'll say is, like, when you certainly don't need to buy the best equipment out of the gate, but if you do,
True.
It's a level of commitment that's really gonna it's gonna take effect in a way that if you drop, the Apollo's $1,000 or close to it, and the microphone, the Sennheiser 416 is just over $1,000 unless you get one on a deal. You're all in there for like $2,000 just for those two things. Like, you're gonna work. Like, you're not gonna be like, okay, well, it's not gonna sit in your closet and collect dust. If you go all in right out of the gate, you owe it to yourself to recoup that money, and you're gonna go for it.
Yeah, and I remember listening to, because I think you were talking about go and listen to this was while I was still watching your YouTube videos before being part of the community. You're talking about listen to the top leader, go to the leaderboard on voices.com and listen to what they're doing. I remember listening and I'm like, how do they sound like that? Because through my AT20, I don't sound like that. And then after the Sennheiser, the Apollo,
and Jordan,
and then especially after Jordan, I was like, whoa. That's how you sound like that.
Yeah.
And what's really cool with Jordan, we did not just presets for commercial, we did presets for animation, for audiobook, for animation, audition, job booking, delivery. So I've got all these presets and I use them every day, audition to audition. And I just switch, okay, this is going to be a high energy character. I'm going to put my animation preset on. If I'm getting really big and excited, that's not going to sound good through my conversational commercial one. So that's another thing too, is it's just all these tools in this toolkit. Yeah, it's really, I'm geeking out over it. I feel like I'm talking too much, but I'm just
No.
excited.
It's great, man. It's awesome. This has been wonderful.
It's hilarious that we know a lot about this. You know what I mean? It's a big world, and this is the thing that we've decided to spend our time doing.
It's worth it though. Once you get cooking and it's something to be able to make a living from home and work from home and make your own hours, even though you kind of have to get those auditions in right away. But it's nice to be able to just take a break, go downstairs, get a coffee or whatever. You want to take a day off, take a day off. No boss to answer to, just clients. So
I will say, because for me, like we've mentioned, I have the 10-year history with improv and acting. You've been a stand-up comedian and a film actor as well, right? For a very long time, pre-VoiceOver. So I think for folks who are coming from that background, that's where the investment in these microphones and just going for it. I just feel like those folks already have a bit of a head start, but that doesn't mean people who don't have that background can't.
Yeah.
It just means add going to an improv class right away to your list of things to do.
Yeah.
Start going to improv classes, start going to acting classes, start auditioning for short films in your city, and just start, because that's what you and I have both done, but 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
I think that if you add that to the regimen, if you're starting from nothing, that's where I think it'll get interesting.
100%. And add reading out loud for a half an hour every single day. Dave always preaches that. I preach that. Just that in the very beginning, for those of you that don't have public speaking experience and you haven't practiced reading out loud a lot, it's going to be a bit of a trip trying to read and say those lines at the same time that you're reading them, but process them through your brain and make it sound like they're coming out of your mouth for the first time. It's much easier once you develop that skill by reading a half an hour a day, every single day.
And I feel like the sound of your voice actually changes. When I first started doing the audiobook narration, this was a year ago, I couldn't do 12 minutes in a row of narration without my voice getting hoarse. And then eventually I couldn't do 30 minutes in a row. And then I couldn't do an hour at a time. I got up to being able to do 4 hours of a straight audiobook session. Whoa. And I feel like that actually strengthened my vocal muscles.
Yeah.
And I really do think it starts if you think, man, why do some people when they talk, it just when you talk, Jesse, it's just it sounds like a commercial. Well, it's because you've literally
I've trained
talked.
My voice too.
You've talked more than any other person. You might be in the upper 1% of people of how much they've talked in their lifetime.
Is that a subtle diss?
Is that what would that diss be?
You're in the top 1% of people who talk. I don't know. I'm just kidding
You're
around.
talking all the time, Jesse. Could you just stop talking? No, but I mean, yeah, I love that, like, reading 30 minutes a day. That's going to get you cooking.
Yeah, I think above anything, it's just start too. Just start. Like, don't overanalyze it. If all you got is a blue snowball and access to ACX and you got no money, just start. Figure the rest out. Just start with what you got. And if you don't get it done in a short period of time, don't worry. You can you'll eventually catch up. Everybody catches up.
Yeah, if you really stick with this, it's not just about a day from now or a week from now. It's about 5 years from now. You can't really spend 5 years doing something every day and not do something interesting with it. You're going to develop. Like, when you do those 400 auditions before booking, like, that's you in the trenches.
But thank you so much for your time, Brian. We took this 15-minute interview and turned it into a 45-minute interview, and I loved every second of it, man. You brought so many truth bombs, so much good value for the newer people and for the more experienced people. There's a lot of great stuff in there. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and everything. Yeah, for those of you that are brand new in VoiceOver and you want to learn how to get a start, check the links below. There's many ways to work with me. I got a free community, got a paid community. In my community, Brian's in there, Jordan Reynolds is in there, Mark Grau's in there. It's always expanding. We're trying to find interesting ways to get you guys working. So other than that, I've been Jesse. This is Brian Michael Raetz.
That's right.
Thank you so much again for your time, Brian. And we'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.